Marketfoolery@fool.com is our email address from Matt Holzman in Denver, Colorado. You guys regularly talk about how important it is for companies to be transparent with their shareholders. Recently, I noticed that Microsoft seems to have taken it to a new level with Power BI interactive charts for their earnings release. I'm assuming Power BI is a brand of some sort. Matt writes, while not too interactive just yet, it's certainly far more than I get from other companies. Do you think this will catch on with other public companies? What additional interactivity would you like or expect to see from companies if this concept catches on? Great question. And I think that, and this is something we probably take for granted now, but it's really only been in the last 15 years or so that companies have been as transparent as they have been to this point. You go back to 2000 and earlier, and plenty of companies were not opening up their conference calls to individual investors like us. So it's a great trend. And to Matt's question, it seems like Microsoft's like, well, how else can we be transparent? How else can we make this interesting and value added for shareholders?
Outside of just PowerPoints and transcripts. Yeah, I didn't dive in to take a direct look at it, but it seems like a way to get more individual investors involved. I'd be interested to see if they had slide scales to show kind of like being able to adjust your own metrics based on what the past history of Microsoft has done. Just kind of fool around with it a little bit, but just showing the actual data in a more interactive manner, I think, is a great idea, especially for a technology company.
Oh,
what
yeah.
do you know?
No. I mean, it's
a company that invented Excel.
Yes.
Should be able to do this
Yeah.
with its eyes closed.
Yeah, it's probably easy for them to make that leap of just offering a little bone for investors.
Yeah.
Because I think, generally speaking, for the longest time, the individual investor probably looks at a company's earnings release and or the transcript as full of a bunch of esoteric terminology that really doesn't mean anything to them, or they're not going to be able to get a grasp on it, or they're going to feel like management is really just sort of framing it up however they want to frame it with GAAP versus non-GAAP and all that good stuff. But I think that we're seeing a lot of this kind of stuff, which I applaud every company that is looking to do something different on this front. And I mean, we've seen Netflix take to YouTube to offer sort of a video component there. We've seen the same thing from Twitter, where they go through Periscope and offer that live call where you're actually watching management go through the release and watching them field these questions and how they react to it. Somebody hit me on Twitter not long ago asking me when might we see the Amazon Echo channel, Amazon's investor calls. Unfortunately, I think Amazon, you're probably just better off not even having a call because they keep so many cards close to the vest. You're not going to learn much beyond the release anyway, but I think this is all great. I think any company, any leadership team that has the interest in making their company more transparent, more relatable to investors, we're on board with that for sure. And I think, honestly, that helps sort of develop a level of trust that should make investors like us who are buying to hold for longer periods of time feel better about those businesses.
And it's also a demonstration of confidence on the part of management,
No
not just
question.
from the standpoint of, we feel like we did well this quarter, but anytime something like this happens, there has to be, or I would be very surprised if there wasn't, a very serious conversation back and forth. In this case, it's Microsoft, where there are people on the other side saying, you know what, this is a bad idea, because if we do this, it's a slippery slope, and ultimately the voices in the room that were saying, no, we can do this, we should do this, and to the point you guys made, better that it comes from a Microsoft, because if it came from ExxonMobil or Ford Motor, can you imagine a non-traditional, what we don't think of as a tech company? It's like, hey, guess what?
We're changing things
We're
up.
live streaming this, and we've got interactive charts. It's like, really?
Live from the oil rig.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the way
Target's got interactive charts? Where?
I mean, information now is so readily accessible. And I mean, that used to be really the big differentiator, right? I mean, for so many years, we hear the stories about how Buffett would go into the basement of S&P library and read through calls or to get all the information you could, because information wasn't readily available. Now you get it at the snap of a finger. And so it's far more difficult for a company to hide anything to begin with. And the businesses that look at that and then say, hey, this is an opportunity for us to even be more on the level with our investors and really earn their trust, because I mean that's what investing really is at the end of the day. I mean, we're looking for a lot of these great businesses, but even the great businesses, you're taking some measure of a leap of faith. Ideally, you want to make that leap of faith as small a leap as you possibly can, and I think that's easy to do these days with the way we can get information. The fact that we have management leadership teams out there that want to participate in that. To me, those are the kinds of businesses that I really want to follow, pay attention to, because you feel more and more like those are the businesses that are really being upfront and honest. And it's not to say they're always painting a rosy picture either.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about investing and you want to always talk about your mistakes, right? It's not about just touting your winners. Man, get out there and tout your losers too, because you're going to learn a lot from them. And so when we see management teams get out there and talk about the good and the bad, and invite questions and more understanding, I mean, that ultimately only makes us better as investors anyway.